This is Trade Flow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. Trade Flow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets. OPEC on Tuesday further raised its forecast for Chinese oil demand growth in 2023 due to the relaxation of the country's COVID-19 curbs, although it left the global total steady, citing potential downside risks for world growth. World oil demand in 2023 will rise by 2.32 million barrels per day, BPD, or 2.3%, the OPEC said in a monthly report. This was unchanged from last month's forecast. While faster Chinese demand could support the oil market, crude prices have fallen this week as the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank has sparked fears about a fresh financial crisis. OPEC flagged potential downside risks for the world economy from rising interest rates.
Oil prices fell about 1% to a 5-week low on Tuesday as the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, a U.S. bank, sparked fears of a fresh financial crisis that could reduce future oil demand. Brent futures were down 51 cents, or 0.6%, to $80.26 a barrel by 11:36 a.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time, 15:36 GMT, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate, WTI, crude fell 56 cents, or 0.8%, to $74.24. That puts Brent on track for its lowest close since February 3 and WTI on track for its lowest close since February 22. Shockwaves from Silicon Valley Bank's collapse triggered big moves in bank shares on Tuesday as investors fretted over the financial health of some lenders, in spite of assurances from U.S. President Joe Biden and other global policymakers.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
A flood of liquefied natural gas, LNG, export projects due online worldwide in mid-decade will vie against lower-cost renewable energy and a revived nuclear power sector, which could rock gas prices and hurt some proposed projects, analysts say. Proposed and approved new LNG plants would boost LNG supply by 67% increase to 636 million tons per annum, MTPA, by 2030 from 2021 levels, potentially saturating the gas market. There's over $1 trillion of natural gas infrastructure being built in the world today. There's a set secular shift in natural gas that is here to stay, said Jack Fusco, CEO of LNG exporter Cheniere Energy at a conference in Houston last week.
Western sanctions on Russian and Iranian oil have channeled cheap fuel to Asia and in the process eroded a decades-long trend whereby the continent has paid more for energy than Europe, according to traders, analysts and Refinitiv Aecon data. Analysts and government officials from consumer countries use the term Asian premium to refer to the higher prices Asian importers have paid for oil sold by big exporters, such as members of the OPEC. For Asia, a weakened premium amounts to an economic stimulus, highlighting another unintended consequence of the Western sanctions on oil and gas exporter Moscow, which also led to a surge in the amount Europeans have paid for natural gas.
Next, we have the top news in metal markets.
Japan and Canada are discussing collaboration on building strong supply chains for battery metals, Japan's industry minister, Yasutoshi Nishimura, said on Tuesday. A public-private mission led by Japan's Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, METI, and including 16 companies that work with batteries visited Canada last week for talks on building sustainable and resilient supply chains, he said. Canada has an abundance of battery metals and good market access to the United States, Nishimura told a news conference.
Gold fell on Tuesday as a rise in Treasury yields took the shine off its recent rise that was driven by the U.S. banking crisis, while an uptick in U.S. inflation in February raised more questions than answers on interest rates. Spot gold fell 0.3% to $1,907.73 per ounce by 10:58 a.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time, 14:58 GMT. U.S. gold futures dropped 0.2% to $1,912.10. Higher benchmark U.S. 10-year Treasury yields weigh on zero, yielding gold's appeal. Gold showed little reaction to U.S. Consumer Price Index, CPI, data, which showed CPI rose 0.4% on a monthly basis in February, as expected, after accelerating 0.5% in January. We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector. Soft wheat exports from the European Union in the 2022-23 season that started in July had reached 21.54 million tons by March 12, up 8.6% from 19.84 million by the same week in 2021-22, data published by the European Commission on Tuesday showed. EU barley exports so far in 2022-23 totaled 4.28 million tons, down 29% from 6.03 million a year ago, while EU maize imports were at 18.99 million tons, 60% above a year earlier 11.84 million. However, the Commission said it was still experiencing problems compiling grain trade figures from Germany and Italy.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to Trade Flow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at Trade Flow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.